You have been told a lie about success, a very compelling, very attractive lie. It is the story of the single moment, the instant breakthrough, the lucky encounter, the one decision that changed everything. We love this story because it is clean. It is dramatic. It fits neatly into a highlight reel. It lets us imagine that our entire future could pivot on one fortunate afternoon. But this story is a myth, and believing it is one of the most dangerous things you can do for your potential, because it trains you to wait for the event while ignoring the process. It has you scanning the horizon for a ship that will never come, while the materials to build your own vessel lie at your feet, unused, day after day after day. True change, lasting success, a different life. These are not products of a single moment. They are the final, visible results of a long chain of consistent, invisible habits. They are not the explosion. They are the steady, relentless buildup of pressure that finally, inevitably, causes one. Today, we talk about the real law that governs your life, not the law of luck, not the law of the breakthrough moment, but the law of consistent habits, and how they shape you, whether you are paying attention or not. Think of a tree growing on a cliffside. You see its gnarled trunk, its branches reaching against the wind. It is a striking image of resilience. But you are not seeing the most important part of the story. You are not seeing the root system. Invisible, underground, year after year, those roots did the quiet, essential work. They pushed through cracks in the stone. They sought out minuscule pockets of moisture. They anchored themselves against countless storms you never witnessed. The tree you admire today is not a product of the single sunny season. It is the cumulative record of every day those roots did their work. Your character, your skills, your results are that tree. Your daily habits are the root system. They are mostly invisible. They are rarely celebrated. They are often boring. But they are the sole determinant of what will eventually, and without fail, break the surface of your life. Success is not an event you stumble upon. It is a landscape you slowly, deliberately grow yourself into. The architecture of your life is built not in grand gestures, but in the repetition of small, seemingly insignificant acts. The brick is laid today, and another tomorrow, and another the day after. You will not see the wall for a long time, but with every brick, the wall becomes more real. The direction of the wall is set not by a dramatic decree, but by the consistent placement of each brick. This is the invisible work. This is where the real shaping occurs. Here is the law, stated plainly. Opportunity does not create success. It reveals it. What opportunity truly does is meet you at your current level of preparation. It is a test, administered without warning, and you will pass or fail that test based not on what you promise, or what you hope, or what you intend to do in the future, but based entirely on the habits you have ingrained in yourself up to that point. The habit of study, or the habit of distraction. The habit of rigorous work, or the habit of cutting corners. The habit of integrity, or the habit of self-deception. When the moment of pressure arrives, you will not rise to the occasion. You will fall to the level of your training. You will default to your most ingrained patterns. This is not pessimism. This is mechanics. A surgeon in an emergency does not become miraculously more skilled. She relies on the 10,000 hours of disciplined practice. A leader in a crisis does not discover new reserves of character. He leans on the daily habits of calm assessment and decisive action he has built over years. The opportunity is simply the spotlight. It shows you and the world what you have been building in the dark. It reveals the person your habits have already made you. Pressure does not build character. Pressure reveals character. And what it reveals is the sum total of your consistent habits. Let me give you two examples. First, consider financial pressure. An unexpected expense arrives. A job is lost. The market shifts. This is the pressure. What is revealed? For one person, this pressure reveals a pattern of panic, of short-term thinking, of desperation. Why? Because their financial habits were invisible and inconsistent. Spending ahead of earning, avoiding budgets, no regular practice of saving or learning. The pressure simply showed the world the chaotic financial foundation that was already there. For another person, the same pressure reveals calm analysis, a reserve of options, a disciplined adjustment. Why? Because their invisible habits were different. Consistent tracking, living below their means, regular investment in their own skills. The pressure revealed not a miracle but a system. It revealed the prepared person. Now, a second example, relational pressure. A misunderstanding escalates, a hurtful word is spoken, a period of distance occurs. This is the pressure. What is revealed? For one, it reveals immediate defensiveness, blame, a retreat into resentment. The habit, long practiced, was self-justification and avoidance of difficult conversations. For another, it reveals a pause, an effort to understand, a choice of respectful communication even in hurt. The habit, long practiced, was empathy and the courage of gentle confrontation. In both cases, the pressure did not create a new response. It illuminated the oldest, most practiced one. You are not what you say in the easy moments. You are what you repeatedly do when no one is watching, which then becomes what you inevitably do when everyone is. This is why you must guard your focus like it is the last fertile soil on earth. Because your focus is the channel through which your habits are formed. What you consistently focus on, you feed. What you feed grows. And what grows eventually governs your life. Distraction, therefore, is not merely an annoyance. It is a thief of your future self. It is the interruption of the consistent application of energy that builds anything of substance. Every time you allow your focus to be fragmented by the trivial, you are not just losing 10 minutes. You are weakening the neural pathway for depth. You are practicing the habit of fragmentation. You are literally shaping a brain, and therefore a person, that is incapable of sustained creation. The modern world is a storm of distractions designed to monetize your attention. To protect your focus is an act of rebellion. It is a declaration that you are building something that requires a foundation deeper than a trending topic. You must be ruthless, not with others, but with your own time and your own gaze. The habit of focused work for a predetermined period on the one thing that matters most is the forge in which skill and character are tempered. Everything else is just noise, pretending to be news. That email can wait. That notification is unimportant. That endless scroll is stealing the bricks from your future wall. You must learn the habit of silence, the habit of a single task, the habit of saying no to the urgent in order to serve the important. This is not a time management technique. It is a character-shaping discipline. The sequence of growth is never random. It is a cycle, a loop you must learn to run consistently. It begins with learning, not passive consumption, but active, directed learning. You identify a gap between where you are and where you want to be, and you seek the knowledge to bridge it. But knowledge alone is worthless. It is potential energy. So the second step is application. You must take that raw knowledge and use it. You must practice the new skill, apply the new principle, test the new idea in the real world. This is where friction occurs. This is where you fail. And that failure is not the end. It is the beginning of the third step, evaluation. You must look at the results of your application with brutal honesty. What worked? What did not? Why? This requires detachment. It requires you to separate your ego from the outcome. Then comes the fourth step, correction. Based on your evaluation, you adjust. You refine the knowledge. You tweak the action. You correct the error. And then you move into the fifth step, persistence. You run the loop again. Learn. Apply, evaluate, correct. And again, and again. This is the growth sequence. To jump from learning directly to persistence without evaluation and correction is to persist in error. It is to practice foolishness until it becomes a habit. The magic is not in any one step. The magic is in the consistent cycling through all five. This is how a novice becomes a master. Not through a single epiphany, but through 10,000 iterations of this loop. You will not feel motivated every day. To rely on motivation is to build your house on a tide. It comes and it goes. It is a feeling, and feelings are the least reliable things in the universe. Discipline, however, is not a feeling. It is a decision. It is the decision to act in accordance with your goals, regardless of how you feel. This is why you must build systems, not chase moods. A system is a set of habits, an automatic sequence of behaviors that carries you forward even when your motivation has abandoned you. When you are tired, the system gets you to the gym because it is Tuesday at 6 a.m., and that is simply what you do. When you are uninspired, the system has you sit down and write for 30 minutes because the calendar says it is time to write. You do not negotiate with yourself. You do not hold a committee meeting in your mind. You simply execute the system. The system is the track, and you are the train. On the days you are full of steam, you fly down the track. On the days your engine is cold, the very fact that you are on the track still moves you forward. Discipline is the commitment to the system, especially when it is hard. Motivation is fickle. Discipline is faithful. Choose the faithful partner. Build the system brick by brick, habit by habit, until it becomes the architecture of your life. Then your progress is no longer hostage to your emotions. It becomes a mechanical certainty, governed by the law of consistent action. You must understand the concept of strategic patience. A seed does not complain in the first week that it is not a tree. It does not dig itself up every few days to check on its progress. It goes through the necessary seasons underground. It accepts the darkness, the moisture, the quiet work of rooting. There is a season for sowing, a season for tending, and a season for harvesting. Most frustration comes from trying to harvest in the sowing season. You cannot bypass time. You cannot cheat the process. The law of consistent habits works in alliance with time. Your daily practice is the sowing. The cumulative effect, which remains invisible for a long period, is the growth underground. The breakthrough, when it finally comes, is the harvest. Strategic patience is not waiting. It is working with understanding. It is knowing that the harvest is inevitable if you have sown correctly and tended consistently, but it is not on your personal calendar. Your job is not to force the fruit. Your job is to ensure the health of the roots and the stem every single day. The tree trusts the process. You must learn to do the same. Impatience is a form of ignorance. It is a lack of understanding of how things actually grow. Trust the sequence. Do the work. Let the law do its job. This process requires feedback. You must become a relentless tracker and corrector of your own course. You cannot manage what you do not measure. Vague feelings of effort are not data. You must have a clear, unambiguous way to assess your consistent habits. Did you do the work today? Yes or no? Did you meet the standard you set? Yes or no? This is not about self-flagellation. This is about navigation. A ship crossing an ocean does not set its rudder once and hope for the best. It constantly checks its position against the stars, against its instruments, and makes tiny corrections. Without these corrections, it will miss its destination by thousands of miles. Your life is the same. Your daily habits are your heading. Without weekly, monthly evaluation, without looking at the stars, you will drift. The feedback loop is simple. Plan, act, measure, correct. But it must be consistent. You must have the courage to look at the data even when it tells you you are off course, especially when it tells you you are off course. The correction is not a failure. It is the very essence of steering. A habit is not a prison. It is a tool. If a tool is not producing the right result, you sharpen it or you change it. The goal is not to be perfect from the start. The goal is to be perfect at adjusting along the way. Now, understand the physics of momentum, the flywheel effect. At first, pushing a massive flywheel is exhausting. You push with all your might, and it moves an inch. You push again, another inch. It seems futile. The effort is enormous, the visible result is tiny. This is the early stage of any worthwhile habit, but you persist. You push consistently in the same direction. Each push adds to the previous one. The wheel begins to turn a little faster. It stores kinetic energy. With every consistent push, it becomes slightly easier. The momentum begins to work for you. And then a critical threshold is crossed. The wheel's own weight and momentum take over. Now, your consistent pushes create disproportionate acceleration. What was once agonizingly slow becomes powerfully fast. This is the compounding effect of consistent habits. The first week of a new discipline is all effort, no visible reward. The first month is still mostly effort. But after a year, after 2 years, the accumulated momentum is staggering. It is not linear, it is geometric. Your small daily deposits into the account of skill, or health, or knowledge begin to earn interest, and then interest on the interest. The results cease to be a simple sum of your actions, they become a multiplication. But you must get through the initial, grueling phase where you are pushing against pure inertia. This is where most people quit. They stop before the momentum kicks in. They walk away one push too soon. Do not be that person. Understand the law. Push past the point of doubt. The wheel will turn for you. This leads to the final understanding. Breakthrough is not a one-time event. It is a lifestyle. It is the natural, predictable outcome of living by the law of consistent habits for a long enough period. When you have shaped yourself, through daily practice, into a person of skill, discipline, and resilience, breakthroughs cease to be surprising miracles. They become expected milestones. You do not celebrate them as the end. You acknowledge them as a signpost on a much longer road. The emotional high of a single win is fleeting. The deep, quiet satisfaction of being a person who can create wins through consistent action, that is permanent. That is true confidence. Not the arrogance of a lucky strike, but the humble assurance of a craftsman who knows his tools and his process. Elevate your vision. Do not aim for a single breakthrough. Aim to become a breakthrough machine, a person whose very mode of operation guarantees that excellence will emerge from the steady rhythm of correct practice. The goal is not to reach a peak and plant a flag. The goal is to become a mountain range. This is an emotional shift from seeking validation to embracing identity. You are no longer someone trying to be successful. You are someone who does successful things as a matter of course, as a function of your design. So let us be clear. The person you are today is a collection of your past habits. The person you will be in 5 years is a collection of your present habits. You are always in a state of becoming. The question is, becoming what? And the answer lies entirely in what you choose to do consistently today, tomorrow, and the day after. Not in a frenzy of activity, but in a calm, determined rhythm. You will not be saved by a single moment of heroism. You will be saved by 1,000 moments of ordinary discipline. You will not be defined by your grandest declaration, but by your smallest repetition. Start where you are. Identify one keystone habit, one small, fundamental brick. Place it today. Then, tomorrow, place another. Do not look for the wall yet. Just place the brick. Trust the law. The shaping is happening. In the quiet, in the consistency, in the daily return to the work. This is the path. There is no other. Walk it. Continue.